You have perhaps come to see Mr. Bolduc. I work for him, you know. I'm one of his employees. And he's not here right now, but you're welcome to sit and wait with me for a little bit. I was just working on sewing a new pair of moccasins. Because, you see, I do not usually wear my good leather shoes. I save those for, you know, going to mass or a funeral or the party after the funeral. And I needed to wear them to have something on today because my moccasins, well, you know how wet it has been lately. The garden's very wet, and my moccasins were just, old moccasins just ruined. So I'm making some new ones, and you will notice almost everyone in town here, they wear moccasins almost every day. Now, a special occasion, they will wear their good shoes, if they have some. But usually you wear moccasins because they are not expensive and they are easy to make. You know, even someone like me can make a pair of moccasins. And here, I'll show you. So first, you have a pattern. It looks like this. You take a piece of hide and you cut out a piece of hide that looks like this. And then you fold it together and you do like I'm doing here. You sew around the toe and then you sew up the back. See, just like sew up the back, sew around the toe, and you turn it inside out and voila, you have a moccasin, something to wear on your foot. And this is one of the interesting things about the people here. You will find that they have traditions that come from their past, from France or Germany, wherever they came from. Most of the people here, they are French descent, but born in Canada or born in Illinois, come over here. But besides the French way of life and traditions, there are also other traditions that get mixed in with what we have in our everyday lives. It's what works. Like, for example, you know what I should have done? Instead of just wearing my moccasins to go out into the muddy garden to work, I was in a hurry, I didn't have a... But you can wear sabots, wooden shoes that, I will tell you, my feet are not actually this big. But these are big enough that I can actually wear these over a pair of moccasins. And they will keep the moccasins dry, they keep my feet warm and dry. And this, the sabot, are actually a tradition that came with our fathers and grandfathers when they came from France, went to Canada, came down here. They still wear the sabot because it is a tradition that makes sense. It is a tradition that is very practical. You know, it is like these houses. You see the house, at the heart of it, it is a French farmhouse of the type with the timbers. They go vertical, up and down. Just like in Normandy or someplace in the north of France. They bring that to Canada, they bring it down from Canada to here, and they say, you know what worked really well in Canada for a house? It does not work so well here in this part of the world, in upper Louisiana, in August and July. It gets a little warm, so they borrow this idea. You see the gallery, the porch that wraps all the way around? That came from the Caribbean, maybe even, perhaps the African traditions, or Portuguese. Different people say different things. But it is like our way of life in this house. It is French at the heart of it, but other traditions get added on around it. And just as We learn from the native, our friends among the native folk, to make the moccasins like this. There are other things, herbs that are, you're not feeling well, they tell you, well, you make tea out of this herb, or you rub this on you, and then we learn from them. We learn about hunting. You know, when our fathers and grandfathers lived in France, most of them, they were country people who did not know how to hunt. They were not allowed to hunt. So, but they come here and they have the opportunity to hunt, but they learn from the native folk about how the animals behave, where they go to graze, where they go to drink. And they learn how to hunt quietly, like the native hunters do. And this is very useful information. And the other side of this, you know, it goes two ways. For example, if you go out into the woods, you may find a native hunter. He will not look, well, he will have a loincloth and leggings. I'm not brave enough to wear a loincloth, but he will have a hunting shirt, just like my hunting shirt, that he has traded for. He will have, you know what they like? Well, certainly, like steel knives and iron and copper kettles for the cooking in, for their wives to cook with. The other thing they love more than anything else that they get from us, it is the firearm. It is the gun. Here's an interesting thing. I have some very good friends among the Osage. In general, in this period, in this place, there are some tribal people that we get along very well with. Among these are the Osage, which is good because there are many more of the Osage than there are of us. Other people like the Chickasaw, we do not get along with them, but they never liked it. It's a long story, we don't need to go into it. It is not a very nice story. But the native folk, when they trade with us, they like to get the firearms. And even though they still hunt with the bows and arrows, the firearm gives them advantages. It can reach farther than the bow and arrow. And now, you know how this works, yes? All right. So, you put the piece at half cock. There's a little pan there, and with a little hole that goes into the barrel. You put some powder in there, you close that, the frizzen, and then you can load the main powder, the ball, or balls, whatever you are putting in there, and you can go around, oh yes, after you and you take the ramrod and you ram it home. But after you have loaded this and you have this covered, you can go around in the woods without worrying about the powder falling out. You see something you wish to shoot, you put it at full cock, because you don't want to go off half cocked, right? And then, you know, I don't know if you could see, but when the cock came forward, the stone, the flint it is holding, hits the steel frizzen. When you hit the steel with the flint, what do you get? Sparks. The sparks go in, they sawed off the powder, it goes in, it sends the ball on its way. Very efficient. Brilliant, brilliant idea. So, the native folk like the firearms, but our friends among the Osage, they had no word for gun. They had no word for firearm. This was something very new to them. So, what do they call it? Yeah, you think, well, I suppose they could call it boom maker or thunder stick or something like that. No, not the Osage. The Osage call the firearm that which makes a thing cry out from far away. I don't remember the Osage words, but in our tongue, that's it. that which makes a thing cry out from far away. And you think about it, well, that makes sense. Because you see something way over there you wish to shoot, you take your firearm, you bang, you shoot it, it goes, ah, falls over. You have made it cry out from far away with this thing. Makes sense. It is also, in a way, very poetic. They are a poetic people. And they are very, very interesting. I have some good friends among the Osage, and some of my friends, they have actually married Osage ladies. Well, let's see. The Osage in general, both the men and the ladies, they are very tall and very, very handsome, good-looking people. I'm sure that had nothing to do with why my friends wish to marry Osage ladies. Absolutely irrelevant. But when you marry an Osage lady, if you wish to be a trader and trade for furs and take goods to them and get furs in return, or whatever you wish to do as a business person, the Osage women are the business people in their families. So you are marrying into a business alliance. And you can even, through the Osage, through being married and connected to a family, extended family, well, you can trade with the tribes out beyond on the great grasslands, which they will, if you're just some Frenchman who comes along and says, oh, I'm going to go trade with the Pawnee, no, they won't let you do that. But they are a very, very interesting people. They are, as I say, in a way, very poetic, very philosophical, and we exchange things that make a new... Our cultures are continually changing and growing, and we learn from each other. And this is a very useful thing. Oh. They are also very, very... They have an interesting sense of humor. So I will share a story with you that shows you the sense of humor of these people, the Osage. I have a very good friend of mine. He is, in fact, he is like an uncle to me. His name is Laughing Wolf. And he is an Osage elder now. And he and I, some years ago, we were fishing in the Missouri, the big river. Not the biggest river, but we're fishing and we catch this, was a catfish. It was immense. You know, you can find some very large fish in the river, the Mississippi, the Missouri around here. The sturgeon, the very large catfish, sometimes 100 pounds. And we catch this fish, and Laughing Wolf is very pleased. He says, oh, this would be perfect for the stew. I said, really? Tell me about this stew of which you speak. And he says, well, you see, the stew, it is made, when you catch a big fish, you gut it and you cut it into big, thick slices. And then you put that into the pot, and you put in water, and you put in cut up squash, and put the squash in there, because, you know, that is an important part of the Three Sisters, the corn, bean, squash that they grow. They put the cut up squash in there, they put in some herbs, and they stew this until, oh, it's smooth and creamy and has this wonderful aroma and flavor. I said, oh, that sounds very good. He says, oh, it is better than good. He said, and it is something, whenever you have guests, important guests, you wish to show them respect and to let them know you are pleased to have them to eat with you, and you give them this stew. I said, oh, really? So when, in the days of the French rule, that when the officers and the lieutenant governor might come over from Fort Deschartres on the Illinois side, and they'd come over to do diplomacy with the Osage, you know, people would give them this stew. It's, oh yes, it was very much it was the respectful thing to do. Really? Tell me, did the Frenchmen like this stew? No, sadly they did not. I said, why ever not? Why did it sounds wonderful. And I know many of the French people, they're like, oh, Monsieur Valet, Monsieur Francois, the commandant, he and his wife, they love fish. And why didn't they like it? He said, well, you see, I guess their stomachs weren't used to it, so that when they would eat this fish, it would upset their stomachs and give them the gas very bad. He said, yes, and the governor or the officer, he would be saying, I bring you greetings from your father the king in Paris, and he says unto you, yes, I can see how it would be difficult to maintain one's dignity under such circumstances. He said, yes, sadly that is so. I said, so this is why they did not like it. Yes. So tell me, Laughing Wolf, when your people realized the effect that the fish stew had on these Frenchmen, did you stop serving it to them? Oh no, we would give it to them every chance we had. These are people with a beautiful sense of humor, and they are also very interesting from a spiritual perspective. You know, in fact, before the Jesuits were suppressed and were taken away, they were thinking that the Osage had a special spiritual understanding that made them good candidates to be made, be given a reduction, a land like these Jesuits did for native people down in South America, a special settlement where they would be protected and they would develop their ideas and connect with the Jesuits in coming to understand our own faith, and that they felt these were a people who would be suitable for that. And then they were taken away and it didn't work out. But for example, I'll tell you something else about my friends among the Osage. Many of the English speakers, they say, the native people, the men, they are so lazy. They won't help with the farming. All they do is hunt and go to war. No, hunting and protecting your people, that's a pretty important job, but it is more than that. To the Osage, the earth is the body of the first woman, their mother spirit. Old woman who never dies is one name they have for her. And the earth is her body. The men are not allowed to dig into the body of old woman who never dies. That is for only the women to do. So that is why the men are hunters and the warriors, and the women are the business people and the farmers. And it is not about who has more energy or who wants to work hard or not. It is about spiritual matters and what is appropriate and what is not. So there are many things going on that a lot of people don't really realize. So, as I said, the different peoples, they get things from each other, they learn from each other, and for us, it is creating a new way of life. Around here, the people, they refer to themselves as Creole. Now, where this comes from, now in this period, year of our Lord, 1796, that we are under the Spanish king. And the Spanish, they have a system where people have different castes. And the top caste, Peninsulares, those are people of European descent born in Europe. And they have the most rights, but also the most responsibilities. Next layer down, Creole. The Creole are people like Monsieur Bolduc, the Valets, the Pratts, even me, people of French descent or European descent who have been born in the Americas. And that Spanish word, criollo, that has become Creole in our language and our way of thinking, that, still good Catholics, we still speak French, but there are aspects to our way of life that make it a special thing. In fact, not too long ago, I saw Madame Beauvais, who lives down the street. She was having words with this very pompous Frenchman, a fellow who came from France and was, I don't know, he certainly rubbed her the wrong way, but she was right in his face and she was wagging her finger at him and she was going, "Oh, you French, you look down upon us Creoles." She used that term, Creoles. "You think of us as no better than savages, and you think of les sauvages as no better than animals." And she was really giving him quite a piece of her mind, and I went away, left her alone. But this is something unique here, this community, this way of life, these people, and it is something we are very, very proud of. Well, alas, I still see no sign of Monsieur Bolduc returning, but I'm sure he will be back soon. Perhaps you might wish to stop by later. And meanwhile, I bid you adieu. I hope you have a good day, and I hope you will come back and see us again.